Have you ever tried to meditate and ended up thinking even more than before? Have you ever wondered why the moment you sit down to find peace, your mind suddenly becomes a crowded marketplace? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to walk straight into a paradox that changes everything. The first idea is that meditation is not a mental workout where you force the brain to behave. The second idea is that the biggest breakthrough often happens when you stop treating the mind as a problem to fix and start seeing awareness as something deeper than thought. When people say meditation has nothing to do with the brain or the mind, it can sound shocking, even unreasonable. But if we listen carefully and test it in real life, it becomes one of the most practical teachings you can carry into every ordinary day. Let me start with a scene you might recognize. Someone decides to meditate because life has become heavy. Stress is stacking up. Relationships feel tense. Sleep is shallow. The phone never stops. The mind is always either regretting yesterday or rehearsing tomorrow. So they sit down, close their eyes, take a breath, and instantly the mind starts shouting. It lists unfinished work. It replays awkward conversations. It invents disasters. It remembers random songs. It produces cravings. It produces doubts. And after 2 minutes, the person thinks, "I am terrible at meditation. My brain is too busy. My mind is too loud." This is the first misunderstanding. People assume meditation is something you do with the mind, as if the mind is a tool that can shape itself into silence by command. But the mind is not a soldier. It is more like weather. It changes. It storms. It clears. It drifts. If you try to control weather by yelling at the sky, you will exhaust yourself and still get wet in the rain. In the same way, when you try to control the mind by force, you create a second mind on top of the first. One mind is thinking, and the other mind is judging the thinking. That double layer is what makes meditation feel impossible. So what does it mean to say meditation has nothing to do with the brain or the mind? It does not mean the brain is irrelevant. Of course, the brain plays a role in attention, emotion, and habit. It does not mean the mind disappears. It means something subtler. Meditation is not about improving the mind as an object. Meditation is about discovering the one who is aware of the mind. The mind is like a screen full of moving images. Meditation is realizing you are not the images. You are the seeing. Here is where the teaching becomes alive. The moment you stop fighting thought, you begin to notice something behind it. Thoughts come and go. Sensations come and go. Emotions come and go. But the capacity to notice remains. That noticing is quiet. Even when the mind is noisy, it is steady. Even when feelings fluctuate, it is present. Even when memory and imagination compete for attention. In Buddhist language, this is close to mindfulness and clear knowing. In simple language, it is awareness. Now let me tell you a story. There was a young person who wanted to be calm more than anything. They were tired of anxiety. They read books, watched videos, and tried many methods. They counted breaths. They forced concentration. They repeated positive statements. Sometimes it worked for a day or two. Then anxiety returned, and each return felt like failure. The more they chased calm, the more tense they became, like someone chasing their own shadow across a field. One night, after another exhausting attempt, they did something different. Not because they were wise, but because they were tired. They sat down and said, "Fine, mind, do whatever you want. Think everything you want. I will not wrestle. I will just sit here and watch." They expected it to be worse. At first it was. Thoughts became louder. Emotions rose. The mind tried to provoke them into reacting. But the person kept the same attitude. They watched as if they were sitting by a river. Leaves floated by. Some leaves were beautiful. Some leaves were ugly. Some leaves carried sharp memories. Some carried sweet fantasies. But the watcher did not jump into the river. After a while, something unexpected happened. The mind did not become silent in a dramatic way. Instead, the person felt space. A small gap between thoughts. Then, another gap. They realized the mind was like a child that stops screaming when it realizes nobody is fighting with it. The mind kept moving, but it stopped dominating. It stopped owning the whole room. Awareness had returned to the center. This is the heart of the teaching. Meditation is not a battle against thinking. Meditation is the end of unnecessary conflict. When conflict ends, clarity appears naturally. You do not create it, you reveal it. In Chinese wisdom traditions, there is a powerful idea about effortless action, not meaning doing nothing, but meaning acting without forcing, like a skilled archer who does not tense every muscle, but lets the body align and releases the arrow. In meditation, effort is needed, but it is a soft effort. It is the effort of returning, not the effort of fighting. Return to the breath, return to the body, return to the present, return to awareness. Each return is like placing a candle back at the center of the room. You are not trying to destroy darkness. You are simply lighting the flame again and again. Now we can talk about obstacles. Why does meditation feel blocked for so many people? Because the mind is full of karma. Karma here does not mean punishment. It means conditioning. It means patterns built by repetition. If you have repeated worry for years, the mind has built highways of worry. If you have repeated distraction for years, the mind has built reflexes of distraction. Then you sit down for 2 minutes and demand those highways disappear. That is not realistic, but it also does not mean you are doomed. It means you have to work with cause and effect wisely. Meditation is like planting a new seed in a field full of old plants. You do not hate the old plants. You understand they grew because you watered them. Now you begin watering something else. The seed is awareness. The water is gentle consistency. The sunlight is patience. The fertilizer is compassion. Compassion is essential here because many people turn meditation into self-criticism. They sit down and measure themselves. They judge every thought as a mistake. They treat restlessness as failure. That attitude is an obstacle bigger than thought itself, because self-criticism tightens the nervous system. A tight nervous system produces more mental noise. Then the person rises harder, becomes tighter, and the spiral continues. So try a different approach. Treat yourself like you would treat a friend who is learning to play an instrument. If your friend misses notes, you do not call them worthless. You encourage them to practice. You remind them that skill grows through repetition. Meditation is a skill, but it is also more than a skill. It is a relationship with your own inner life. A relationship grows through kindness. Now let us return to the phrase meditation has nothing to do with the brain or the mind. Here is another angle. The brain is part of the body. The mind is part of experience. But meditation points to the witness that can observe the body and the mind. When you identify only with the brain and the mind, you live inside thoughts like a fish living inside water without knowing what water is. Meditation helps you recognize the medium. You see the water. You see the mind. You see the body. You realize you are the knowing of all three. This recognition changes your life in practical ways. When anger arises, you can say, Anger is here, rather than I am anger. When fear arises, you can say, fear is here, rather than I am fear. That small shift removes a huge obstacle. It stops emotions from becoming identity. And when emotions do not become identity, they move through you more cleanly. You still feel them, but they do not define you. There is a story in Zen about a person being insulted. The person bows and says, I accept your gift. The insulter is confused and asks, gift? The person replies, if I do not accept it, it remains with you. This is not about being passive. It is about understanding that many obstacles enter our life because we grasp them and make them ours. Meditation drains the non-grasping that keeps your inner space clear. Now imagine bringing this into daily life. Someone criticizes you. The mind immediately forms defenses. It creates stories. It wants to attack or collapse. But if awareness is present, you can feel the heat in the chest, the tightening in the throat, the rush of thoughts. You can breathe and watch. In that watching, you create a pause. In that pause, you choose a wiser response. Maybe you listen. Maybe you clarify. Maybe you set a boundary. The obstacle of reactive speech is removed. And because that obstacle is removed, relationships become less chaotic. Again, meditation is not magic. It is training in freedom. Let us talk about the urge to achieve in meditation. Many people approach meditation like a competition. They want special experiences. They want visions. They want perfect stillness. They want to be advanced. This ambition is another subtle obstacle. It turns meditation into striving. And striving is mind activity. The moment you strive, you move away from simple awareness. So what is the alternative? Curiosity. Curiosity is gentle. Curiosity says, what is happening right now? What does the breath feel like? What does sadness feel like in the body? What does joy feel like in the belly? What does restlessness feel like in the hands? Curiosity does not demand. It explores. And exploration naturally brings the mind back to the present. In the Buddhist path, wisdom and compassion are inseparable. Wisdom without compassion becomes cold. Compassion without wisdom becomes overwhelmed. Meditation cultivates both. Wisdom arises when you see impermanence, the constant changing of thoughts, emotions, and circumstances. Compassion arises when you realize everyone is struggling with the same changing waves, even if their waves look different. When you see this clearly, you become less judgmental. You become softer without becoming weak. You become strong without becoming harsh. Now let me share another story, one that shows how meditation changes destiny. A person grew up with a temper. It was not their fault in the simple sense. They learned it from their environment. They saw anger used as control. They saw shouting used as communication. They carried this into adulthood. The temper became an obstacle. It damaged friendships. It created guilt. It made the person feel ashamed, which then fueled more anger, because shame often wants to defend itself. This person tried to fix anger by promising to stop. That did not work. They tried to suppress it. That made it explode later. Then they found a meditation teacher who said something simple. Do not try to stop anger. Learn to feel it without becoming it. So each time anger rose, the person practiced noticing the earliest signs. A small heat, a fast breath, a tightening jaw. Instead of acting, they paused and watched. Sometimes they failed. Sometimes they succeeded. Over months, the pause became longer. Over years, the anger lost its power. One day the person told me, "It is not that I never feel anger. It is that